Please join me 合唱 if you can. 煩悩に眼をさえられて、摂取の巧妙見ざれども、大非物浮きことなくて、常に我が身を照らすなり。My eyes being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet the great compassion without tiring illumines me always. 親鸞上人 The hymns of the Pure Land Masters. ナマンダ仏、ナマンダ仏、ナマンダ仏。Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending Twin Cities Sangat's monthly memorial service in April. So I briefly introduce myself to the new people attending our service for the first time. So my name is Chiemi. I am an assistant minister of Twin Cities Sangha. I grew up at the Jodo Shinshu Temple in Japan, and then it is the same sect as this Sangha. And then I became the minister after I came to the States. So finally, the temperature in Minnesota has been going up. Not really this morning, but it's been hard to see on such cloudy, rainy, windy days like this weekend. So I have actually have the spring seasonal allergy. So personally, I am not enjoying having spring. But some moments make me happy to see that the spring has come finally. I'm pretty sure many of you love to see this moment after we survive from a long winter. So the favorite scene to see for me is this. Just gonna share my screen. Okay, so this is my favorite scene to see the spring. So duckling, geese, and the birds have started to show up finally. So we start to see them as a couple at the beginning, and they walk together side by side, looking like they're having a friendly conversations or so. Just looks like my imaginations. Sometimes the male ducks. Sometimes the male ducks protecting the female ducks just looks like, and then while later we started to watch them as a family with the little ducklings. So ducklings are being protected by their parents all the time. When crossing the street, the father duck goes first to ensure it is safe. And then the parents, they oversee their birds while crossing the road, and they see anyone left behind. And then my other favorite scene is, hold on a second. Okay, this is much more my favorite scene. So so the car stops, and then wait for the birds to cross the street. So why do we like these things? It makes us feel happy because it is compassion. It makes the people happy to see the compassionate thing like this. So someone cares about others, the feeling or showing sympathy and concern for others. So after I came from Japan, I saw the yellow warning sign for the animal crossing for the first time. Even in a suburb, when I grew up, so everyone always looked busy and almost rushed into something in Japan. So I couldn't believe my eyes to see the sign like this and then stop the cars and then wait for the animal crossing. So today I would like to talk about compassion. But I will speak about Amida's compassion. So who is Amida Buddha? So Amida Buddha is usually sitting in the center of the altar if you visit the Jodo Shinshu temples. Or home Buddhist altars, just like this one we have at home. So they also have the Amida Buddha's picture scrolled in the center. And the Amida Buddha is a measurable Buddha. We recite Namo Amida Butsu, which means I entrust Buddha with unmeasurable rights and higher wisdom. The Jodo Shinshu teaching of the Shinran Shonin, the founder of our sect, introduced us to the meaning of the liberation based on Amida Buddha's vow, primal vow. Amida Buddha's ongoing work to bring about our liberation and to have us experience the benevolence of his vow of power, which will ultimately bring us our birth in the Pure Land. And it sustains us spiritually and gives us lifelong fortitude. So we may believe that we can approach the ultimate truth if we just follow the practice taught in the Buddhist traditions. Here is the example of the traditional training. Just gonna show some pictures. Like this. So you may be familiar with the Zazen, and then Shakyo is the writing the sutras or so, and then the three the bottom of the screens and the pictures. So that was the most strict the practice is for the Buddhist traditional way, often to see in Japan. So, but actually, the more we perform spiritual practices, the more entangled in limitations we become. Then, the more we become aware of the depth of the unawareness, the more we realize how important we are to learn the awakening through our own efforts. So, accordingly, all the ideas of aspiring to attain Buddhahood is fundamental. In reality, it is particularly impossible. So Amida Buddha shows compassion to us in reasonable to such hopeless circumstances rather than wait for us to seek our Buddhahood. He brought it to be it about even before the idea occurred to us. So Amida Buddha's great compassion for us has already reached us. But how to find out we have already received it? So today I would like to explain the theory by an example about the relationship between Amida Buddha's compassion and us human beings. So I found this story to explain this theory in a monthly magazine from Honganji, Honganji publisher. The Honganji is our headquarters temple in Japan. So one day, you finish your work at your office, and you are starving. On the way home, you decided to eat something at the restaurant. It is hard to wait until to get home, so you are very, very hungry. You aren't very familiar with the area and then have no idea about the good place to eat. So accidentally, you find a small restaurant. So you haven't heard the name of the restaurant. It doesn't show up on the app on your phone like Yelp or Google Maps. So you open the door to enter, and then the chef himself comes up to the door, welcome you. So you are very suspicious if this restaurant is okay. Is their food okay? Why don't they hire anyone like a waiter or manager or so? They don't have to spend any money. They don't spend any money advertisement like a social media or even not on a map. Don't they have enough? Don't they earn enough money for it? So many suspicious ideas come up to your mind. So you take a seat, and the chef asks you, "What can I get for you?" There are many dishes to choose from the menu, but there is a few sections in the chef's specialty. It says hamburger. You select hamburger that chef recommends. The chef looks happy to see what you choose because his hamburger is so special to him too. He spent a long time finding the best way to make it. He tried many different ingredients and different ways to cook. He spent so much effort to finding the best way to cook the special hamburger. But you are still not able to trust him. You still wonder, how could I have a good burger in such a tiny restaurant that seems like it doesn't have money? I've known many delicious burgers throughout my life. So the chef started grilling burgers. The instantly good smell of the meat mixed with the flavorful ingredients that comes into the dining room from the kitchen. It makes you hungry and hard to wait to eat. Hard to wait to eat. The chef carefully put the grilled burgers between the homemade buns with the fresh vegetables, which he chews very carefully. When the burger comes to your table, you have no doubt it's delicious. And when you have a single first bite, the juicy, delicious burger makes you so happy right away. And you say, that is so good. You have already forgot how suspicious you were about this restaurant and the chef. You ask the chef, how did you make such a wonderful burgers? And the chef answers, I did aspire to make the best burgers. I spent years and years to make this happen. After leaving the restaurant, you can't wait to tell your friends or family about the best burgers you have eaten. We will see this story metaphors for Buddha's teaching. So the burgers represent our anxiety or suffering. The chef represents Amida Buddha. The chef spends so much time and energy finding the recipe, just like Amida Buddha. Before the Bodhisattva Dharmakara, so he became Amida Buddha. So the Bodhisattva Dharmakara profound thought, he embraced this vow to liberate all sentient beings, and he became Amida Buddha. The burgers is the metaphor for the Myogo. Myogo is Namo Amida Butsu, which means entrusting. Entrusting myself to awaken the being an immeasurable wisdom and compassion who has come to bring about my liberation. Time to find the best recipe is metaphor for the time Amida Buddha embraced the vow called 5 kalpas, which is extremely long time. So 1 kalpa is like this. So imagine a gigantic rocky mountain. You take a small piece of silk and then wipe the mountain only once every 100 years. And the mountain will be gone entirely. The length of the time to take is 1 kalpa. So Amida Buddha took 5 kalpas to find the realization. No doubt. When you saw the flavorful juicy burgers, you didn't doubt it was a delicious burger. It is a metaphor for shinjin, which means entrusted mind and heart, the receiving Amida's compassion. So you are ready to have it. This is so good, you said about the burger, a metaphor for reciting Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. The feeling of no hunger represents, it's anjin in Japanese, anjin. So be sure about my life. It is okay. It is settled heart and mind. The feeling of the being willing to tell the people about the restaurant represents dendo in Japanese, which is propagation of the Buddha's teachings. So if you like teaching, then you would like to tell the people, to share the teaching, just like you enjoyed the hamburger. So if you are not hungry, you even don't seek the restaurant. You don't need it. If we have suffered from the pain and anxiousness about our future, we naturally trying to find something. But the truth is, the restaurant is always there, even if we are not looking for it. The chef is there if you don't open the entrance door. We simply don't see it. This is not the case only about Amida's compassion. We often are we often are not able to recognize someone's compassion around us. I would like to tell one more story today. It is a story of a young man who had just graduated from college and got a job. He was raised by a single mother, and then the mother worked tough day and night to let her only son graduate from the college. The son grew up a very kind person, and his dream was to get a job with a good pay and then send the money to his mother. He wanted her mother to have an easier life, the more comfortable life. He appreciated his mother constantly, and now he can repay his mother. He wanted to buy a new car, a house for her. She has been driving the exact same car for about 20 years. The house he grew up in was tiny and hadn't been maintained for long. He wanted to buy a new TV, furniture, and more to make his mother happy. At the job interview, he told about his plan after getting a job. The person might be his new boss, how much he appreciated his mother, and he wanted to repay her. He was accepted by the company, and he was so excited. After the interview, the person who interviewed him called him later and said, I give you a homework that before you start the job here, please go home to see your mother. And then only one time is fine. Just try to put hand lotion on her hands. The son thought, wow, how strange order it is to start a new job. And he went home to see his mom, and she was glad to see him and hear about his new job. He stayed there several days and then waited to find a chance to put some hand lotion on his mother's hand. She was still working a lot. When she came home from work in the evening, the son asked her to let him put some lotions on her hands, but she said, oh, it's okay. She immediately started to cook dinner for him. So before bedtime, he asked her again, but his mother said, oh, thank you, dear, but you should go to bed. You must be tired today. Days passed by. It was the night before he left home. He begged his mother to let him do it because it was the kind of homework from his new job. And the mother said, oh, it's okay. But that she accepted. So that finally he had a chance to put some lotions on his mother's hand. Right after he started putting some, he began having tears in his eyes. He found out instantly how much his mother had worked so hard to raise him. She worked so hard outside of the home, and every night she came home and she cooked for him, taking care of him without resting a minute. The son had his own confidence throughout his life. He studied very hard and graduated a good college. He thought he was a very successful and good person, almost like a virtuous person. He was so proud of himself that he couldn't give him a mother, that he could give his mother easier life. But when he touched his mother's hands, which he hadn't done before for a long time, and realized how much he didn't know his mother's compassionate mind. When he saw once more wealthy kids when he was young, he wished he lived in a house like theirs. He was alone lots of time after school because his mother worked for a long time, a day and night, so he didn't like it, being alone at home. He believed that the more money that brings us more happiness. He didn't doubt it. doubted. But when he saw his mother's hands, he instantly realized he was the happiest son having such a compassionate mother. The mother didn't have any expectations or anything from him. She was there just for him. She didn't even think about herself or her life at all. It was totally non-egoistic, compassionate life for her son. There are many situations we might haven't recognized what we have. We can't be away from worldly materialistic satisfaction. But what is true happiness for us? What was true happiness for his mother? Her compassionate mind is exactly the same as Amida's compassion. She simply cares about her son. Amida Buddha does not state that he will liberate us if we entrust ourselves to him. What he does state is that we should rest assured of his absolute guarantee for our liberation. Amida Buddha is here always, just like the moon appears everywhere. Over a crowded city, a sleepy village, if we walk hundreds of miles, the moon goes with us. To us, the moon seems to change, but the moon does not change. Buddha is like the moon, following the people of this world in all their changing circumstances. In the eyes of human, Buddha may seem to change in appearance, but in truth, Buddha does not change. So please join me, Gasho. My eyes being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet the great compassion without tiring illumines me always. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.